for 40 years that had caused them to maintain their covenant promise. Now, hear my words. All the provision that they had had for 40 years that had caused them to live in a maintenance mentality over what God had said to them, all of a sudden it shifted. It stopped. No longer could, that's good, Chad, thank you. No longer could they see what they had seen from their last level of provision. It ended. This is hard for us because of how much God loves us and how much vision He has for us. We don't understand when last season's provision ends. We don't understand why we're going through this. Oh my gosh, my money's drying up. My manna's drying up. I was so successful in that last season. Seems to be drying up right now. Here's Elijah. Here's the way we are. We're prophets. We prophesy into the heavens. We legislate the heavens. 40 days later, what we legislated in the heavens, where we said there wouldn't be any rain, and God sent us to the brook that was running, that word we legislated all of a sudden is affecting us. And it's drying up. See, all you've got to do is go from Genesis all the way to Revelation. There are moments from one season to the next that supply becomes difficult. The way you're used to seeing it, the way you're used to receiving it. See, that was why during those 7 years, because I am prophetic, I knew that we were headed into a more difficult time financially, and the Lord every year had me put up a certain amount out of everything that came to me personally as well as corporately. So that when a prophet comes and says, go north and buy land, well, but I've already written in that book that just came out that the economy is going to crash in September 2008. Why would I go north and buy land? Because that's what I've been preparing you for 7 years. Go north, buy land. Shift what you had into that land. Now, what Bishop didn't say was this. Because after you buy it and get it paid for, Sam's is going to buy the piece next to you and build. And it's going to cause your land to double. See, Bishop didn't say that. He didn't have to say that. God didn't tell him to say it. He just said, go north and buy land. And I heard it. I wasn't even there. And when I listened to it on the CD the next day, I heard it so clearly. See, that's what God's saying to us tonight. What are you watching for in this new season? What are you looking for in the new season? How is your vision shifting now that you're 8 days in your journey into the next 10 years? Now hear me biblically, that's where we are. We're 8 days into our next 10-year journey. You made it in. Poke somebody and tell them. Bless her heart, she's got a thing around her neck, but she made it in. See? See, you made it in. You might have limped in. You might have crawled in. But you're 8 days in. Now, in the next 3 days, you can move on into a new vision. That's what God was saying to him. In 50 days, this is what it means. In 50 days, your harvest can make a shift. The way that you've been operating can make a shift. Let me tell you something that happened in that tent. Just one. All of a sudden, my brother runs up. He was working. It was the end of the month, so he wasn't there a lot. But he ran up and he said, "You've got to prophesy to Rhode Island right now. I hear it by the Spirit." Were you there when I prophesied to Rhode Island? Well, now this guy that I have been bowling with that goes to our church, he's been without a job for 2 years. I thought, okay, what am I going to prophesy to Rhode Island? You know, I mean, here I'm standing up here. You'd think he would prophesy if he's hearing God say something to Rhode Island, but I just opened my mouth. I've been taught that. That's what he's taught us. You just open your mouth, something will come out. Well, before long, something was flowing toward Rhode Island and how God was going to use that small state to be your new beginning, on and on and on. It was one wild word, you know, and then you just keep moving. That was last weekend. On Monday, this man, been without work for 2 years, gets a call from Rhode Island to be there today, to go to work, to oversee all of FEMA's operation in Rhode Island. Now, hear what I'm saying to you. All of a sudden, when Rhode Island calls, after he's heard this word 3 days prior, he doesn't have to try to figure out, I wonder if that's God that Rhode Island's calling me. They prophesied to one state there, and it was Rhode Island. Said, your new beginning will come out of that state. Needless to say, he left his wife here in Texas. He packed his bags and went immediately to Rhode Island. That's what you've got to know. You've got to move in as we enter into this season. Now let me refresh you. Watch the song coming down. It's going to be new. It's going to move us new. And if you decide to hang back on the back row with no movement or no voice, that isn't what happened with these 3 million. They all entered in. When that happens, you enter in, all of a sudden you've been activated. It's not like what you're used to being activated. It's coming from a different perspective. That's what the ladders do. It's bringing down a whole new journey. I'm going to ask Dean to come. Reproaches from your last season. You can't have messed up more than Peter. Now hear me. You can't have messed up. That reproach is now being rolled away. You're in a new season. The Spirit of God says, let me cut it away from you. Let me cut it off. The way you have reproduced last season and what has been reproduced in you through a spirit of unbelief, let me roll it off of you. Let's stand up. Now I want you to do something as you're standing up. Remember what we said? That manna stopped.